Hi there, my name is Toby, and on this channel I really talk about body dynamics and Qi energy and how these two things work together. And yesterday my wife and I went down to a yoga class inside Kew Gardens Temperate house. So this is inside Kew Gardens in London, inside this large old greenhouse. And this is an old world building. Anything over 100 years or so I would call an old world building. And these are very special. So as soon as my wife told me about it, I said, yeah, we've got to go and do this. Because there's some energy in this building. There's some different type of energy in these old buildings. And it's worth trying to feel this and experience this. And any old building over 100 years is classed as an old world building in my mind. And some of them are a lot older than we think as well. And the reason is, back in those days, we built things with a different technology, a different idea of the universe. So back then, pre-Second World War, everything was all about ether. Everyone was aware of ether, and they were still aware of electricity, but they thought of electricity as more of a fluid. They had a slightly different idea of electricity back then. And so these buildings, this architecture was built with this knowledge or with this thought about ether. Everything was built with this in mind. And nowadays, after the Second World War, ether is completely dismissed, and the buildings we build now are just random structures built for convenience or so-called aesthetic design. But the interesting thing is, these old world buildings had most incredible aesthetic design. These were designed most elaborate designs we can ever imagine. And we couldn't make these designs now, even with a computer. I mean, if you look at things in London, Houses of Parliament, St Paul's Cathedral, even you look at things like Notre Dame, Milan Cathedral, Cologne Cathedral, all these places, the Houses of Parliament in Hungary, Budapest, these buildings are so complex, so elaborate, it's very hard to imagine someone sitting down with a pen and paper and drawing that out. And you've got to understand the foundations beneath these buildings, these foundations beneath these buildings as well. How did they build those? How deep did they go? And the thing is, because these buildings were built about with the concept of ether, they were designed to collect etheric energy. They were designed to collect energy, and in fact collect electricity. These were also electrical buildings, and I'm going to qualify that in a second. But you can see here at the top of this, there's an iron fence right at the top of this. There's an antenna on one end, and it goes through a fence across to the other end, and there's another one going round and round in a square around the whole top of the building. And this is to do with something called electroculture. And again, this is an idea that was more popular in the old days, and it was the idea that in order to help plants grow, you stick a bit of metal in the ground, poking up to the sky, and this will help bring the atmospheric voltage down into the ground to help grow the plant. And there is an atmospheric voltage. The higher up you go, the greater the voltage. This is sort of well known, but not really taught or spoken about. And we know there's a voltage because we have lightning. Lightning builds up in the sky, and that lightning comes down. So sometimes a huge amount of voltage builds up, and that causes the air to ionize, and we get lightning. But there's always a voltage going on, and this voltage is being attracted to the top of this building through these antenna or aerials and these metal fences going around. So there's an antenna there. And they also have sculptures at the top, so there's these stone sculptures at the top of these buildings. And there used to be a lot more of these sculptures on these old world buildings, but they've all been taken down. And there's these urns at the top there. You'll see these urns all over the place. So even these urns are designed, there's a certain shape that collects energy. So if you hold water in one of these shaped urns, it charges up the water, it structures the water. There's a thing called structured water, you can look into that. But these are solid stone, and they're at the top, so they're designed to collect etheric energy. They're symbolic of abundance, but they also have this organic shape which collects energy. And the stone itself is also electrical. The sandstone, red bricks, for example, red bricks building, red bricks have got the iron oxide in there, which gives them a slight electrical quality. So you can imagine that the electricity, the lightning, will come down into the building, all the way through the building and into the ground, and it will also go through the rock. So a red brick building, for example, if a lightning would strike that building, it would go down through the bricks and charge up all the bricks. So these guys and these old buildings, they all had spires. You see all the old churches, cathedrals, castles, massive tall spires. So why are they having these spires? None of these spires would have lightning conductors, and these buildings are all around the world, everywhere. No one would put a lightning conductor in. Nowadays we put lightning conductors. We say all these buildings are dangerous. We've got to put a lightning conductor in. But they were designed to capture the lightning. They want the lightning to hit them. You see, the lightning will hit the top of the antenna, go down through the entire brick structure or the stone structure right down into the ground. They had very deep foundations, so the lightning would transmit all the way through the stone structure into the ground. And so it was safe, and there was no risk of fire. These buildings are built out of metal and stone. That does not catch fire. So there's a lot of stories about these buildings all burnt down with fire. There's one in Crystal Palace, very much like this. Metal and glass greenhouse, and that all burnt down in fire. But this will not burn down in fire. This can't burn down in fire. This is metal. And look here, look at the precision of the metalwork on the inside. Extremely precise, elaborate metalwork. We wouldn't bother doing this now. What's the possible function of making this metalwork beautiful? Well, the beauty and the shapes and the geometry are all part of collecting the ether. You see, ether is to do with geometry and design. It's tricky to understand that, but etheric energy itself is not physical. Electricity is manifest. We can see and feel and work with electricity. Ether, however, is non-physical. So in order to attract ether, it is attracted through geometry. And these shapes are very important shapes. And we all know, for example, the pyramids. The pyramids are famous, and there's many old temples in India. We've got Angkor Wat in Cambodia, loads of these, Machu Picchu, very old places. And I think most of us now know these were built with a higher technology than we have now. The idea of the pyramids being built by slaves is long gone. Nobody really believes that now. And that was disproved by a couple of mathematicians. Is if you're going to build this with slaves and a great big mound of earth up the outside where they drag these big stone structures up, these stone blocks, it wouldn't work because the mathematicians calculated you'd need, I think, 3 to 5 times the volume of the pyramid in earth around the outside. And I think they calculated it would take millions and millions of slaves, millions of years or thousands of years to do just to build the pile of earth. So that's totally impossible. But just out of interest, so you know how the pyramids were built, they were built with geopolymer. These were not carved blocks. These was geopolymer. And a lot of these old buildings were built like that. It's old style concrete. But it was a better recipe of concrete. They had powdered stone, and this would cure and become like real stone. So we think these are carved blocks, but this is geopolymer. And inside the pyramids there's a track that goes up in a spiral inside, and this track has two tracks, so it's like a cart was pulled up on the inside, and this was dragging up this geopolymer mixture, and all you have to do is build the next block into a mold, pack the concrete down, and that's why each block was so tightly connected to the previous block. This is all geopolymer. And this goes back to a lot of these old buildings. We assume this is all hand carved. It's not hand carved. These are all mouldings. Then here's an urn. You see, this is an urn. You see these things all over the place. This is a particular shape, an organic shape that is good for collecting energy, collecting etheric energy. It's not only symbolic. You see, there is an energy in symbolism. See, there is an energy in symbolism. Symbolism is the crossover between consciousness and the physical world. But it's more than just symbolism. You see this triangle at the top here. You'll see all these triangles on these old Greco-Roman buildings. This has got a particular angle to it. This is a particular mathematical triangle, and it's very important. And this mathematics is what is required to collect the ether. Here you can see more of those triangles at the top. And I think it's probably a 36, 108 angle triangle, or it might be a 137 something angle, which is the golden ratio angle. And you also get these arches, and there you can see the date 1761, so this is an old world building. But there's some debate as to whether these are the real dates on the building. And there's another one. You see you've got a pyramid on a triangle on the left and an arch in the middle. What's the point of putting that up there? This is not just symbolism. This is to attract the etheric energy through mathematics and geometry. And you'll see archways. And here's another thing. This is directly electroculture. Again, this looks very old to me, but you can see they've got symbols on the side. These are the symbols of our previous lords and masters, who were our overlords, so they want the power for themselves. But this is a metal structure with an aerial at the top designed to capture the atmospheric electricity and bring it down into the ground. And if you grow plants in this area, they grow much better, much faster. And there's lots of experiments done with electroculture, but they're all old experiments. But there are new ones happening now. People are taking this more seriously now, electroculture. And you get 4 times growth. I mean, 4 times more growth than your plants with electroculture. And here's another old building, or a pagoda. Well, it might be a replica, it could be old. But you can see this looks like an electrical device. Each step up is like another step up in voltage, and at the very top you've got this gold aerial. And the aerial at the top has got to be copper or gold, because this is a great conductor. So this is literally designed to capture lightning and bring it down through the stone structure deep into the foundations under the ground. This is literally designed to capture atmospheric energy and charge up the building. So that will have an effect. If you go in this building, you will feel strong ionized atmosphere. All these old churches, they're designed to build this energy. That's why we will feel energy in these old buildings. Now, unfortunately, in modern day, we've knocked all these down. We've destroyed these with so-called fires. And we've destroyed this electrical capability by putting in a lightning conductor. So now we'll have a lightning conductor at the top, and that goes down the outside of the building into the ground, so that if it's struck by lightning, it bypasses the building, goes down through the copper wire to the ground without affecting the building. So we sort of lost the power. But nevertheless, the geometry of the building is still got this symbolism, this connection to the ether. As I said, the ether is attracted and created or manifested through this geometry. There is a thing called morphic resonance, where shapes will also resonate with energy. So these elaborate designs, these geometric patterns in these old cathedrals, these old churches, were designed to capture etheric energy or stimulate the manifestation of etheric energy into electricity. And these are old trees. This tree looks to me about 300 to 500 years old. There's not many trees of great age left. Again, we cut down all the big trees. But these are the same things as these buildings. Look, the tree goes deep down into the earth and it reaches up high to collect the atmospheric energy. And it grows in a dendric pattern, like lightning. If you take a snapshot of lightning, it looks like a tree. It looks like a tree and a tree roots. And the roots underneath the ground are a mirror of the tree going up. So the tree grows up and the branches reach out to the points of atmospheric voltage. So it's reaching towards different areas of atmospheric voltage, and this atmospheric voltage is varying. It's always changing, moving around. There's various pressures of voltage in the atmosphere and the ground, and the tree chases these, and this is what stimulates the growth of the tree like lightning. And again, a very old tree here, and there's a lot of energy in these old trees. If you stand by one of these old trees and do your Qi Gong practice, breathe in and out into the ground and towards the tree, you can feel a lot of energy in these trees, and it's partly why a lot of these are got rid of, because they don't want us to have this energy. We want to have the energy of these trees. There's a lot of wisdom. These trees have been around for thousands, hundreds of years. So imagine what we could learn from these trees if we could tune in to the energy, the life force of the trees, and learn. And this, I think, is the oldest one. This must be 800 to 1,000 years old, sweet chestnut tree. So a lot of wisdom in this tree. If we can do our Qi, breathe this, touch the tree. There's an exercise called embracing the tree. If you find a tree that you can hold and do your Qi Gong, you'll feel a vast amount of energy coming from that tree, because electricity is passing through it. It's capturing the electricity from the atmosphere and passing it down into the ground. When you stand near that, you get some of that electricity. It's a real thing. The electricity is real, and everything grows with this electricity. Everything is a being of electricity. And here's a water fountain. Again, water was taken very important. This is what holy water in a church was. The water inside this church is charged up with this electricity, this electrostatic charge, and this becomes holy water or structured water. Again, nothing to do with religion. This is to do with science, the science of ether and fluid electricity. Okay, I'm going to talk more about this in time, and there is another yoga class that happens in the Natural History Museum in London, and when we're going to go and do that, I'll make another film about that when that happens. But there are a lot more films, a lot more people talking about old world buildings and what they were all about. I'll leave the links below to a couple of channels that are quite good talking about that. But I hope this stimulated some thought in you. And if you next practice your Qi, try and practice near a tree. Or if you're lucky enough to go into an old world building, do try and feel the energy. See if there's more energy in there. Okay, thanks for watching. Look forward to seeing you in one of these other videos.